Oh, hey there. All right, we've got our ERV here. It is going to exhaust stale air from inside the house. It's going to bring air from outside in. It's going to filter it, so it's going to clean it. And it's going to temper it by passing over a core which is warmed or cooled by the air that's being exhausted. And ERV does a little bit of magic with maintaining the humidity here in the house too. We also have our makeup air system. So when the range hood fires up, it opens up a damper here and it's going to allow air in through a 10-inch pipe. And there's a filter in here. So we come around the racetrack here and we get to the preheater. Air coming in, goes around, and if it's not warm enough air, if it's not close to the same temperature as it is inside the house, the preheater kicks in and it is going to temper that air. All right, this is where the makeup air finally enters the house. So it's going to be filtered, possibly warmed up if necessary, and it's just going to ensure that, you know, if you're cooking on the stove and you're boiling that pot of water or frying whatever, that you're actually going to be exhausting what that range hood is capable of exhausting. You're not going to be starving it for air, and you're going to be removing all of those ugly particulates that you want to get rid of, you don't want to be breathing in, you don't want to be floating around your house. Part of commissioning our makeup air system was to verify how many CFM were actually flowing out through this range hood. Although we had to install a makeup air system capable of handling the max rated capacity, we still have to set the limits on it. And our exhaust hood box, so something we would normally use to test like a bathroom exhaust fan, is only rated for 125 CFM. So it was not rated for this, nor would it fit this. So fortunately, Gina had the great idea of using some thermopan, which we had left over anyways, and created a custom box. Now, while we're not able to hook our manometer up to this in this current fashion, we were able to use an anemometer to measure the CFM. Now, I do know for a fact when you have the range hood going on high and you open that door, the door very quickly comes to meet you because we have an airtight structure. So it's important that we get our makeup air dialed in correctly. And using an anemometer just to measure the CFM is going to help us do that. So good job thinking outside the box, or thinking of a box, you know? Anyways, it worked. So locally, we typically have 3 options for collecting water for domestic water use. One is a dug well. We've used dug wells successfully on numerous projects, and they are still very common in our area. What our hope was when this was installed was that we would pick up on some of the groundwater in this area, because there's a little runoff back here. It's quite mossy, and quite often we do find a little bit of ground source. Unfortunately, it appears that this is only surface water, and with the tiles we have in place right now, this holds about 250 gallons of water. Unfortunately, when we pump it dry, it takes us about 20 minutes to pump it dry with the pump we use. The refresh rate, and that means the amount of time that it takes for these tiles to fill back with water, is too long. I mean, we literally have to wait for it to rain. And that's a serious indication that we're tapped into surface water only. And unfortunately, we can't use this as a viable source. So we've got another option. One is a dug well, which is typically cheaper than option 2, which is a drilled well. And then option 3 is collecting rainwater. Got the leaf eater installed in anticipation of getting our downspout installed and our eaves troughing in the near future. It's got a leaf guard, so it's going to shed any large debris. And inside, it's got a very tightly woven 16th inch stainless steel mesh that just gets rid of any fine debris or insects. We want to filter as much as we can at this point before it gets into the tank. Two 950-gallon tanks here for water. And here's how we're going to get water in them for this house. We have a standing seam metal roof, and we have snow bar along the eave. And while snow bar may not seem important for rainwater collection, it plays an integral role. The snow bar holds back the snow and allows water to melt out from underneath the snow without ruining the eaves trough, the gutter that we're going to be putting along. We're going to have gutter guard to help cut down on the amount of debris that will be entering that trough. And when we bring our downspout here, about 4 feet above grade, we're going to have a leaf guard. From there, we're going to come to our inlet. When this tank is full, the overflow at the other end is going to switch over into this other tank, which is slightly lower. When this tank fills up, there is an overflow that will allow water to go basically out into the wood line. We're going to have a couple of pitless adapters. Here, we're going to bring 2 separate lines out, and we're going to have a switch inside, a valve that will allow the homeowner to decide what tank they want to pull from. We're going to have Wi-Fi enabled float switches so that the homeowner can monitor the water level and choose which tank that they want to pull out of. The grade is going to come up some more. We've got some more landscaping details to go in. As you can see, we've got 1 rock in place. There's going to be a few more large boulders put here. We don't want anybody to accidentally drive on top of the rainwater collection system. 950 gallons, 950 gallons. It's going to supply all the potable water for this house. And we've got 2 hatches here so that people can maintain the system in the future. At some point in time, these tanks are going to require cleaning and maintenance. This gives us access without worrying about freezing. Now, option 1, although it's typically cheaper than a drilled well, a dug well often requires extensive filtration. Sometimes treatment for tannins, sometimes an extra holding tank. It can get quite pricey just to be able to treat the water. With rainwater harvesting, option 3 that we've gone with here, our filtration system is half the cost of what a typical dug well filtration system is. All right, the rainwater system is fully commissioned. We've got a sediment filter back here that just catches anything that might be coming from the tanks. Obviously, this comes through to a charcoal filter. These 2 charcoal filters then pass into another sediment filter. Anything that might come through the charcoal filter, it just takes care of it right there. And then we go into a UV light that just helps take care of any type of bacteria. So we've got our first tank up here, that'd be our primary, and our secondary tank, and they are about to start filling up again because, well, we're collecting the darn rainwater. Actually, if we stick around here long enough, which we're not going to do, we're going to see water come out the overflow. But the overflow also serves a second purpose, and it allows air back into the tank. So water can actually be sucked out without collapsing the tank. Doing the final blower door test today on this project, and we've got a great diagnostic tool here. This is the air tracer from Retrotech. So this is basically a digital version, a battery operated version of an old school smoke pan. Well, we know we've got some minor issues with the air tightness of our enclosure. Now, when I say that, it's still pretty darn good. We're going to be hitting passive levels of air tightness on the enclosure. But just to demonstrate how you can find some things, we're going to use this door as an example. We know we've got a couple small issues. Let's check it out. All right, we're here for what I hope is the final blower door test at the South Hollow project. And mid-construction, we had 0.37 at ACH50. Now, we got our baseline set. I should mention that at mid-construction, we didn't have our makeup air installed. We didn't have the range hood installed. So there's a few things that are beyond our control that hopefully won't impact the test. I know that the lift and slide door to the deck had some minor issues during shipping, and I'm hoping, knock on wood, that the results are good now that it's been fixed up. All right, we've got our baseline set. I'm gonna punch cruise at 50, and we'll see where we end up. We're going to call that 0.5 ACH50. Now I know we've got a little bit of air blowing around this frame. We had to kind of MacGyver it to fit in this door, and there's not a window suitable that we can put the fan in. Now keep in mind, 0.5, that's still pretty darn good. Anything under 1 is good, but we strive to be under passive. Now, we were 0.37, 0.38 at our mid-construction, and then we went and cut a 10-inch hole for our makeup air and a 6-inch hole for the range hood. So between a little bit of blow-by, and we know we've got just a couple issues with one of the lift and slide doors, this is really darn good. 0.5 ACH50, South Hollow, folks. We chose the name South Hollow for this project because it is in the south end of the island, and it literally goes down into a hollow between two rocky outcrops. The site location, the landscape, the terrain were definitely a challenge on this project. And the trade partners that we have worked diligently to ensure that the client got the house that they wanted in the location that they wanted. This build was different from previous builds in the sense that we had European tilt and turn windows actually from Europe, and the client wanted to supply a lot of his own materials. Not all of them, but a lot of them. We decided that we would go down that road together. It wasn't always perfect, but it definitely worked out, and the client is happy. We've achieved our performance goals, so overall it's a win. One of the biggest challenges we encountered on this particular project was the site conditions. We're used to dealing with sloped lots, but this one was probably 10x to what we've dealt with before, and it just made material delivery, getting supplies in and out, extraordinarily problematic. One of the big wins on this project was European tilt and turn windows. It's something we wanted to do on a project locally for quite some time, and we just haven't had the right client with the right budget till now. We also have a couple of firsts on this project as far as new construction goes. The client decided that they were going to go with a heat pump dryer, so we didn't require a 4-inch duct for the dryer. That was a win, removed a hole from the house. This is the first time I've installed a makeup air system with a preheater, and that was a downfall to any previous makeup air system that I've done. Another first was rainwater harvesting. It is something I've read about. It's something that's always intrigued me, but this is the first project we've actually done it on. And it's going to be interesting to see how this works for the client moving forward. The overall design of the house is somewhat minimalistic. Even though it appears very modern, it is a compact footprint. We are less than 1,000 square feet in the footprint. So even though there is a walkout basement, the overall impact on the ground is pretty minimal, and it is just extraordinarily well laid out. Everything has a place, and it is all usable space. This is where the South Hollow project literally began, so it's only fitting that this is where it ends. We're wrapping up, and we're moving on. It's been a great project. We got to try a few new things, and we had some great performance goals that we've met out of it. And we've probably gained another friend. We had an excellent client on this project. I'm hoping we're going to continue that friendship moving forward. And hopefully we'll be back many, many, many times to see how our work is holding up.